Legend says that Hercules swept Cerberus right off his feet and effortlessly set him down softly as a songbird. Atlas kept the world upon his back and every day wondered whether he could stand it any longer. And Tara Reid came out to say the man they tried to label the messiah of morality was really just another rapist. And I don't intend to hesitate when asked who was the stronger. Tara, like Assange, knew that carrying the truth would be the hardest labor. Tara knew that her assailant wasn't gonna make us any safer. And knew he's just the type of man to hand a decent foreign leader US printed walking papers. And knew he'd be relentless and aggressive in the war he'd wage upon her very character. That his attempts to weaken and degrade and embarrass her would be her only compensation. But I strongly doubt that anyone could ever have foreseen the stream of hate that came from quote-unquote progressives and the self-styled titans of survivor advocation. So if you really think there's something to be gained out of sharing your pain with the world, you are sorely mistaken. The Biden team just dragged their feet addressing Tara's allegations. Until they had a decent list of smears, then they aired them out on every station. And it turns out no one wants to hear the truth of who they praised as being worthy of such bloated liberal celebration. That no one wants to really know the person they've so valiantly defended, even when it meant they had to gloat and shit all over someone braver than they'd be if given the occasion. Now cue the faceless comment squad invasion. Cue those fuckers crawling out the woodwork to come analyze the way you wore your hair and what you wear. Like your appearance waives your rights, or that somehow you're the reason for your situation. Somehow they've decided you should bear responsibility for what such monstrous men insist on doing. Somehow they're deluded by the empty, hypocritical, and useless fucking platitudes that bastard keeps on spewing. And I think it's very telling that the best of their excuses when they try to come and justify our president's abuses is a hearty butt Trump. In which case I'll remind you that you never saw the news attempt to sell us Donald Trump like he was morally upstanding or a decent human. But when Joe says something bigoted or ogles someone's little kid, CNN says, isn't this refreshing? Biden's like a mix of JFK and FDR with all the finer parts of Harry Truman. Christ, I know that they don't think that we're the brightest, but at least pretend we got a couple lumens. Ask yourself if you have ever questioned what they fed you, or do you just shut your eyes and then consume it? And now ask yourself if you ate every one of Biden's lies under guise of harm reduction and the promise of a slight improvement. And now imagine long ago that Biden chose to show you who he really was by traumatizing you for his amusement. Now imagine that you watched him touch a Bible with those filthy hands, and then assume the power of the highest seat in all the land, of knowing your attacker wields a global coalition born of three-letter agencies who'll make a life's mission out of trying to discredit you through lies, damn lies, and collusion. Big tech is never gonna separate from our surveillance state. Fuck's sakes, they're just a breath away from total fusion. So there will come a time where even if you see the light, your voice will never reach the sky through all the bots and all the noise pollution. So trust us when we tell you that the masking of abuses is perhaps this country's oldest institution. And I know nothing nobler than facing it in honor of the truth when you know that the people holding power have been neutralizing truth since there was wet ink on the Constitution. So know that Tara's truth is something crucial to the movement. And if you see yourself a partner to the revolution, help this country see through all the baseless propaganda through the crux of Joe's illusions. And recognize that Tara Reid gave everything she had so she could tell us what the truth is. Recognize the decent thing to do when someone bears their soul and shows their bruises is not to ask for context or offer up your own solutions. Your job is just to listen with an honest mind and put yourself on Tara's side a moment so you understand the path she chooses. That there is no instant fame worth the dragging of your name. And if that's what you think, you've a lot to learn about the kind of facts the mob can handle and the kind that it refuses. You've a lot to learn about the news and all its many uses. Guess you've yet to learn the truth the news will serve as fruit from which they've squeezed out all the juices. And we all eat the husk and just pretend it's full of nutrients and isn't really useless. But the jaws of our ability to yield accountability are absolutely toothless. So don't you kid yourself that any lips are being loosened. They won't ever tell us where the bodies are or show us where the proof is. It's on you to recognize the lechery our president so regularly oozes. It's on you to muster up some honesty and ask yourself how Biden won your trust, but it's America that loses. Open up your eyes and learn to recognize the bruises. Open up your eyes and learn to recognize the bruises.
They'll gladly pay you by the hour for a minute or so, so you can sign off on the towers where they'll piss on your home. And if you feel like you're just powerless to answer them no, it's 'cause you are. They'll gladly pay you by the hour for a minute or so, so you can sign off on the towers where they'll piss on your home. And if you feel like you're just powerless to answer them no, it's 'cause you are. It's 'cause you are. They'll gladly stagnate a living wage, snap the chains, bury it. Labor slaves in rusty cages dragged behind a chariot, led by Mr. Racial Jungle, Joseph or Iscariot, fighting over scraps as they barrage us all with variants and BuzzFeed clickbait, straight until we're paralyzed, trying to distract us from the concentration camps that Joe had swore he'd close but only chose to amplify, where they got 50-something kids in cages to occupy. Their paradise. She tells us the facilities are safe and that right down to the women, they are regularly sterilized. Then she throws her head
Okay, we're live. It is my favorite time every other Tuesday night. It is time for American Tradition with this guy sitting next to me, Jesse Jett. Say hi, Jesse. Hi, everybody. And
hi, Jesse.
Oh, look at this guy. Hilarious. Love him. We got jokes. We got everybody here in the chat already. This week, we are going to go through the Grift Home Companion. So that's a spoken word album, right?
It is. Yep. Second part. I keep wanting to say disc because I'm a child of the 90s, but the second part of the double
Part
album
two,
that the Grift was.
right?
Yeah. Part 2.
Okay.
That's probably the cleanest version. Probably just part 2. Yeah.
And since it was a home companion, it was literally written alongside the Grift itself. Like sometimes, I've seen this guy. Sometimes I'm explaining to the audience that he gets inspired sometimes to write songs, sometimes to write spoken word, and it just kind of whatever pours out. And sometimes it gets put to music, sometimes not. So,
and that's super arbitrary. Like I can't tell you enough. There are some songs that I'll have a beat in mind and I'll sit down and try it, and I'll kind of know right away if it's going to work or not. Etna Demigod on the Grift was actually one of those that was really close to being a spoken word piece, but I really wanted to make it fit with that chorus, and it took a few different iterations before I found one. And in true Kanye mode, Etna Demigod and Both Hands on Your Head off of the Grift, those were both like pretty much done from the ground up, maybe 2 days before I put it on Spotify. It was very last minute that I was putting all that together and made a lot of changes, and all of a sudden I was just like, you know what, let's just tear this down and build a new one. So, but yeah, there were a lot of them. I wasn't sure, how many pieces am I going to have? All songs? Am I going to pepper a couple things in? And then I was like, you know what? It just makes the most sense. I had an even amount. I was like, let's do 9 songs on one, 9 spoken word pieces on another, and call it. And I'm really, really happy I did that.
It's awesome. Again, I've had, for the last 2 weeks, I've had Powerless bouncing around my brain nonstop. If everybody did not get a chance to watch the last episode 6, which was the Grift, where we did a walkthrough, it was fantastic. Again, listening to every song, we were listening and playing the words through so you could read along and follow the words, and that worked out really well for me, for everyone. Everyone seemed to love it. Views are higher than they've ever been on any other show, I believe, so far for American Tradition. Again, we've only done half dozen so far. This is episode 7, so we're still building, and it's every other week. So again, we're just here to have some fun, cut loose, and hang out with our friends. And whoever wants to hang out with us and watch, let's go.
There we go.
So let's jump right into the first song. So now, this is the album itself on Bandcamp. Okay, so everybody can go to jessejett.bandcamp.com. And you'll notice the
distinction. The album cover for this has the giant seal that Greg was kind enough to make for me very last minute that says Home Companion. Other than that, it's the same album cover. I just threw a stamp on there. Well, Greg threw a stamp on there.
And that is our favorite candidate, Cy Oppenheimer, on the cover. Everybody vote for Cy. All right, so our first song is called Fuck Me, Where'd My Apes Go?
This piece, dude, at first it was just going to be a little poke at NFTs, because this was when we had people losing their NFTs left and right, having them stolen through the dreaded right click save, and watching people lose their shit about that. Right about that time, that truck, I'm trying to remember if it was in like Pennsylvania or something, there was a truck carrying monkeys to a research lab, and it overturned and some of them got out, and it was this whole kerfuffle. I think one like coughed in some lady's face and she got hospitalized. It was enough of a news story that the combination of those things in my feed started this piece going, and next thing you know, it was just kind of like, how much fun can I have with disappearing apes? And I was seeing a bombardment of those posts that we know from Facebook days that they were just information gathering to try to get like your passcodes figured out. But it's like, your porn star name is your favorite color and the month you were born, or whatever like that.
I thought it was the street you grew up on and the color of the underwear that you're wearing. Yes,
exactly. Your first pet's name and the school, your elementary school or whatever. So I messed around with that some too, and this piece ended up just kind of spiraling out of control. Interestingly enough, on the recording, I sat down and did all of this in one sitting. I was feeling spicy. It was when I had COVID that I couldn't really do much of anything else, couldn't go anywhere. So I one night I was feeling up to it. I was like, I'm gonna go down and try to record all of the spoken word album. And in about 2.5 hours or so, I did it, and I did it in order. So this was the first one that I recorded that night. And when I got to the part in this piece that I kind of feign like a heart episode, I kind of take a moment and calm myself down for my heart. One of my cats, Chief Brody, ran into the room super concerned, and you can actually hear him meow right after the line, what is it? Might not be the best case scenario, but truth be told, it's not the worst. You hear this very faint, and I kept it in. I didn't want to take it out. It's faint, but especially with headphones on, you can hear it super clearly. But so right around the midway point of this first track, there's the Brody feature.
Oh, that's great. All right. So the words are up on the words are up on Bandcamp. All I just have to do is hit play right here. I'll scroll down and we'll get started. Sweet. All right.
Started up in safe mode. Feels like another day if you say so. Same sight, same smell, same payload. Bright and early, home sweet CAFO. Another day where your employer just cannot resist reminding you they need you like a payphone. And that you're the lowest labor cost that ever crossed the payroll. So medicate yourself defeating Dayglow. Scroll a dozen other lives and take notes. Take a load off. Take a quiz or two. Fuck it, stay home. Your porn star name is the last thing you ate and your ATM code. Mine is a sigil, eternally vigil, the shape of a ward to preserve us and aid in our darkest of days, the ages of Bezos. When Applebee's sweetens the pot on your 5th round booster shots with a free small queso. Another day where you wager it all on a game called Fuck Me, Where'd My Apes Go? Where they right-click saved or lost in the woods on the way to a lab and a lifetime of product testing for Procter & Gamble. And while I don't mean to ramble, I'm barely disturbing the surface of what you could call the preamble. Prepping the table where all of the rich will be seasoned and split, their legacies stripped, and the towers from which they would pelt us with shit will be toppled and trampled. Drugged through the mud to the bramble. All pleas ignored and the screams all cleared for samples. And flipped to the rallying cry of a turning of tides, a working class you forged and you galvanized through a lifetime of beating them flat on the anvil. And I'm just one man, but I'll do what I can from my circle of candles. A synchronized laying of hands on the handles of studio doors where mass media vandals all butcher the truth to contort into angles that groom you into the most useful of fools, so you practically drool to see Raytheon marking a nation it seeks to dismantle. Your porn star name is the day you last ate and the word that first pops in your brain when describing the taste of police boots and Bezos' sandals. And it can be the brand new code word for anything you don't want heard because you're trying to keep your YouTube channel. So go touch grass, baby, shout it from the rooftops, carve it on the trunk of the tree of manna. The revolution won't be televised, but it will be felt in every soul like they're electrified by the power struggle rippling to life like a working class arcana. Load up every cannon, we'll firebomb the history books and decimate the annals. Write in bold unerring word, the peasants won the battle. Get it through your talking heads. Tell them that we canceled all their panels. Tell them that they'll have to find some honest work. There no longer lives the kind of power they were here to serve. We'll no longer give up half an hour every night so we can placidly acknowledge things are getting worse and then bury our intentions in the sand, antenna first. We'll no longer feed our children raw into the Senate's maw and all to slake the market's thirst. Will no longer be their hapless tributes for the darkest curse, all to feed a power that was summoned up by Bilderberg. Oh, wait a sec, my heart just got a bit excited, or a clot dislodged or burst. I'm not sure if that would be the best case scenario, but truth be told, it's not the worst. Your porn star name can be honest or exotic or mundane, or it can be the brand name stitched on the velvet inner lining of a donor's purse. They'll trade you just the same, honey. Profit is the dice and the pieces and the prize and the name of the game. Christ, money is the motor nerve. And they don't really need yours. Everybody knows they got their own reserves. It's not about money. It's also they can feel a little power surge. When they see their machinations on display, the silence fades. They want to shout it bright as day that they end lives and they break ground just to proudly say they shape a global future they trilaterally deemed essential, equitable, pure, and business sound. It is also they can feel a little power surge. Shit, I bet they laughed and jerked it when the towers burned. Your porn star name adorns a very shallow grave, but your one true name will be clear 1,000 years ago when this is just a town of ferns. When all the apes are gone and the overgrowth is blooming off of every surface, filling every view no matter how you turn. Lush and ever gentle while admonishing a creature that just never learns. Your name is an evergreen echo in a town of ferns. And you don't have a phone to check, just healthy breath and rolling crests of verdant surf. Immerse yourself and drown the urge in patient earth. When all the apes are gone, there's only us to purge. Your name is that which never learns.
Nice. Love it. Dude,
So
go
the
ahead.
astute listener might realize that what I said differed from the lyrics in one part in a big way that I didn't catch until I'd already put the album out. And that is that I messed up my own line, because it is supposed to be, "We'll be clear 1,000 years from now, when this is just a town of ferns." And that's what the lyrics say. That's what the
Right.
lyrics in front of me said when I recorded it. But I'm going to blame it on COVID that I said 1,000 years ago, because I was just in performance mode, and I got done and I was like, sweet, that's a wrap. And I moved on to the next thing, and I fucking put the record out. And Cynic was actually the one that was like, hey, I was just listening to Fuck Me Weird My Apes ago. You realize you said 1,000 years ago and not from now? I was like, are you serious? And I listened back.
Did he
I guess
just...
it kind of still makes sense. I'm not
Cynic, you're
taking it
insane.
down and redoing it. Like, it's what's done is done, but god damn it.
Cynic, you should be operating this board. Jeez. This one about how they don't really need the money and they do it for the power hit. Oh my God, that leveled me. That absolutely leveled me. I'm looking for it here to highlight the line again.
Oh, is it,
oh, and I heard after
when
the
they
heart,
see their
the heart thing,
machinations on display, yeah, their silence fades. They want to shout at bright as day that they end lives and they break ground, just to
yeah, here you go.
proudly say they've.
But you ask them for they ask you for money, but they don't really need it. That
Yeah. Oh yeah. They don't really need yours. Everybody knows they've got their own reserves. It's not about money. It's also they can feel a little power surge.
Mm-hmm. That's.
I almost didn't put the. I bet they laughed and jerked it when the towers burned. I was like, should I? Yeah,
Dude. Well, some of them did, but not. You know,
for what it's worth.
This one specifically referred me back and made me think. Send me $27, please.
Yeah, right. So I can get to work making sure $27 feels like a lot more money to you next year.
Right. So again, that was called "Fuck Me, Where'd My Apes Go?" Fuck me, where'd my apes go?
There are some titles that once I can conceive of them, like I can't change it, even if I want to do that. Was one of them.
That's just amazing. So, speaking of Mr. $27, our next piece,
right,
is all about Mr. $27.
Yeah,
the Shepherd of
So
Hopes.
I really
Well, wait, before we do that, I don't know if there was anything else that you wanted to add at the end of here, because I cut you off and I just jumped in.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Okay, all right. So let's go to Shepherd of Hopes. Cool.
Shepherd of Hopes, I gotta give big props to
Lucy. Where's
because
Lucy?
she said, she was like, hey, I'm gonna be doing a episode talking about all these Bernie 24 prospects being kicked around. Do you think you could do a piece about that? I was like, maybe. And then apparently I had a lot more to say about it than I thought I did, because once I started writing, Shepherd Hopes came together in about an hour and a half. And I went on with her that afternoon and read it. Like, as soon as I got home from work, I hopped on and read that piece. And yeah, I stand by it. That second time watching Bernie, we all kind of knew better inside, but it's like, maybe this will be different. What other options do we have? I still want to throw my weight behind the guy that's, looking out for us. And yeah, I think an awful lot of people that put their time and money in want that time and money back and feel cheated and sold out, and rightfully so. And the idea of doing it again is just a big fucking insult. It's just a right in people's faces. And it's sad to see how many people are genuinely like, Bernie 24, I'll vote for Bernie again. Like, damn, really? So it's funny. I mentioned the other day how, my first song, at the beginning of 2020, Town Hall, literally the end was like, they're going to try to push him out. They're going to try to cheat him, write him in. If you want to try to put us in the right direction, we all got to try to write Bernie in. And the pipeline from, hey, we all got to write in Bernie, to shut the fuck up and sit down, Bernie Sanders, you've done enough, is approximately 2 years. That's all it takes.
Well,
it's a very short span of time in the discography between those things. But here it was, yeah.
That's mostly because just because of his good friend Joe. Well, how much can you possibly take? I mean, now Charlie Max got an interesting question here in the chat. When you write spoken word, do you write to a particular internal rhythm or beat? Or do you tend to write to the Inspector Gadget song or something? Yeah.
That's a great question. Not a one particular thing, but obviously, I tend to have my lines fall into a very similar pattern structure, with a few exceptions. Honestly, Dr. Seuss. I blame Dr. Seuss. I loved him so much when I was a kid. I love reading it to my son. Like, nothing flows like that. Every line is exactly as long as it needs to be, and it's just as dense as it can be. And in my head, there's just this little Dr. Seuss that's a little bit too long or one syllable too short, either way. And I just kind of fall into my own, I don't know. There are a few other people. I hate to even put myself in the same breath as him, but like MF Doom uses a very, very similar sentence structure in so many of his pieces, but to me, it never feels stale because it's what he's saying, and it almost becomes kind of signature after a while. So I just kind of hoped that I would translate that to other people as well, that it doesn't, that you're focused more on what I'm saying, and it doesn't matter if it's kind of a similar structure lyrically, which is part of why I make all my music kind of as different as I can, and why I try to have it, keep you around for the 6 minutes that I'm going to yell about Joe Biden or whatever. Yeah, we could totally. I don't know copyright wise if we could read that. I mean, I would think other people read books on YouTube.
Oh, we could totally do readings. Holy shit, that would look. Yeah, Rob Durden's been doing readings and of.
I will absolutely.
Oh, that would be so sick. I love that idea.
Crossover Reefer After Dark, Dr. Seuss night.
Holy shit, do the weird, creepy Dr. Seuss stuff that nobody wants to read anymore. Right? That they've banned everywhere. Like, he wrote some crazy stuff. And the other one I hear in there is Eminem. I hear a lot of Eminem cadence as well. And you may
obviously
agree with
when
me
I
or
was
not.
when I was a kid, his first couple of records was huge.
Right,
and Eminem do that to me was one of the best. Recent Eminem, and not so much, but yeah, it'd be crazy to say that he wasn't an influence early on for me for rap. Like him and Aesop Rock is probably my biggest rap influence, but Lauryn Hill as well. Lauryn Hill was a huge influence for me.
Sure. That's awesome. Okay, Shepherd of Hope.
All right, so yeah, let's get into this.
Let's
Bernie time.
Let's hit Bernie. Let's do this. Oh, so
I gotta spark up for this one.
All right. You know what? You might want to mute your mic while we're live, so we don't hear that. While it's playing. All right.
If you fool me once, it's because I didn't think a guard was needed. If you fool me twice, it's because I didn't learn the lesson, so it bears repeating. If you try the same play 3 times running, it's because you know what's coming, and you didn't come to lead, you came to purposefully be misleading. Democracy is dry, it's been a century bleeding. The husk is gaping open to the sky, out in the field where all the sheep just keep on circling and worrying and bleeding. They're waiting for the shepherd that they've tried to hide their faith in, but he's so appealing. They'd gladly give their fleece, it's such a freeing feeling that even when he leads them to the ledge and starts to urge them on, they're positively beaming. They were told that they were on their way to save democracy, so even as they plummet, they just gloat, they don't consider screaming. And halfway up the cliff, the shepherd's cozy little mittens wrap around the staff of shattered human hopes on which he's leaning. He shows the gentle grin that used to stir your inner spark, and he says, "Not me, us," as he gestures to the oligarchs. He knows that if he runs, they're gonna stop him like a stolen car. And he'll easily surrender because it bought a lot of time for laying mines in all the grassroots. Suddenly, the tiniest of movements gets you blown apart. Suddenly you're in a play that's set on an election day and voting for the fire, unaware you're playing Joan of Arc. Suddenly the shepherd pulls the rug and slips a hood across your clueless mug and everything goes zero dark. I'm gonna warn you once more before it's 2024 and you fuck around and find out who your heroes are. To take a step back from the herd and you'll learn that you can spot who all the shearers are. If you really want to know the product that they're selling, I can take you where the mirrors are. If you think your voice is finally ready, I can tell you where the lyrics are. I hid them in a box I had to bury neath the cobble when they carpet bombed the promenade and raided all the street bazaars. Now all we've got's the marketplace, and you're too broke to even bother asking what the options for your treatment are. Suddenly, the raw debris of homeless human dignity will find it has 100 teeth for every badge and sweeper's arm. Suddenly, they speak in solidarity and each is armed. Suddenly, the sheep can see the shepherd for his truest form and all pitch in at once to help him buy the farm. And now it's zero dark, and all is calm and peaceful save the distant wail of sirens that approach beside the flames of dawn. Suddenly, the carrot's just a string that's on a stick, and all your movements make you sick because the prize is gone. Now, we could go and flee into the forest low and meek, or we can exercise our right to feast and go and graze on Biden's lawn. 'Cause he's been sowing seeds that seep a toxin out to sap a bit from each of us and keep on leeching decades after Biden's gone. So regardless who they summon out of hell to come and do the job, it will not feel like Biden's gone. But in that time of hopelessness, you cannot trust the shepherd when he once again comes asking you to humor him his siren song. And it's cute that you can innocently, honestly assume that's just a symptom of a system that was wired wrong, and not the standard feature, basic function, primary objective of a mass hypnosis firebomb. You don't need to know the words to cry along. Someday it'll hit you like an officer who pistol whipped their ride along. Broke his jaw and kept his job and kept it moving right along. That voting isn't red or blue or black or white or right or wrong. Voting's like a firing squad where you can choose the firearm. It's slow extinction by and large. It's Super Tuesday supercharged. It's all your futures, roots and all, just tossed out on a garbage barge. It's everybody dropping out to push the biggest oligarch. It's everybody voting fire, registered as Joan of Arc.
Oh, man. Again, that's Shepherd of Hopes.
Vote Bernie 24.
Bernie 2024. That's
2024.
Right. Bernie 2024. That's right. You should have added that right at the end.
I almost did. I almost did at the end of the thing.
Again, my favorite line from this by far is right there. It's voting isn't red or blue or black or white or right or wrong. Voting's like a firing squad where you can choose the firearm. Because it doesn't really matter in the end because they're all gonna kill you. That's yep. I love it. I just so good.
And
all of this.
One of my favorites, I think ever of mine was the if you really want to know the product that they're selling, I can take you where the mirrors are.
Mm-hmm. That's another really good one too. It just hits you in the face. It really does. So yeah, Shepherd of Hope.
So again, thank you to Lucy for asking for a Bernie piece, because it ended up being one of my favorite pieces I've ever written, and I legitimately wouldn't have sat down to try to write that and wouldn't have had that happen had she not asked me. So.
And from a third-party observer that watched it all happen in the span of about 4 hours, okay, Lucy started in a chat thread on Twitter in the morning, and Lucy's talking about Bernie, and she says, "Hey, Jesse, can you write something about that?" And Jesse says, yes, I think I can. And then like literally by lunchtime, he came back, he's like, "Guys, I think I wrote something. I want to show you." And he shows us this thing, and it's not like, he didn't write like a paragraph or like a couple of words. He's got an entire 4-minute soliloquy about the guy, just ripping him to shreds in perfect freaking verse and rhyme and stretching and destroying the man. How the hell does he do that? I was like, wow. My head exploded. And he read it that day. That's right. And he went on INN News that night with us, and he read it. And I sat there open mouth going, how the hell does this guy do that? And I'm just so lucky to be able to sit and listen to this and pick his brain. So
thank you, seriously.
But just
thank you guys all for hanging out. Seriously, you guys mean so much to me. It's just such a such a joy. He and I both the other day, I told him how excited I was for this, and he was like, I feel like I've aged like so much since the past one. I was like, God, me too. Like this last week, especially last couple of weeks, it's been a lot, man. And I
It's like a
I look
year.
forward to this so much, especially like I love performing more than I can describe. This is a rare treat for me, since this is still so new, to be able to have the time to like sit and relax and objectively listen to it all the way through, and have the chance to do this and get to have like a night where I'm just kind of chilling and chatting. I really enjoy it. The last one was so much fun, and tonight is no exception. So
Yeah, for sure. So what do we got? We got next 2 and 20. I remember we did play that before.
Ooh. Okay, and that's another one of those where like this was gonna be a short piece. I was gonna talk a little about Jordan Chariton and rip on some journalists, and it was going to be 2 minutes and 20 seconds. I've gotten really good at, in my opinion, remembering where that cutoff point is with a song, no matter what my tempo is. I'm like, I'm probably at that point right now. I got Sunday Morning 40 right in that. A couple things off the Geiger Age, #squad goals, Ecosphere. I've always tried to get things within that Twitter video length because it moves so much better. It's so much easier to share with people. And this ended up being like, what is this, 5 minutes?
Almost 5 minutes.
5 minutes. So I was like, well, that went out the window. So it ended up just being kind of a partial reflection too on just kind of how I do what I do. And yeah, there were a few pieces on here that I started off with a little idea and then just became a lot more than that. And I kind of like the ones that go all over the place, because I'm learning that people do a really damn good job following with me when I jump from thing to thing. So bless you guys for that. So yeah, let it rip. 2 and 20.
Right, let's go. Let's go at it.
Give me 2 and 20. Humor me my humble talents. Let me weep a little bit too openly for those we're leaving hungry, hanging in the balance. Hanging lifeless in the eagle's talons. Wrapped in lines a dozen times around their local food drives just to find they're only serving heaps of mayo peed up by the gallon. With a hearty double scoop of Biden's word salad. 'Cause Joe's prepared a couple words in no specific order to commemorate imaginary victories, and it must be a taste that you acquire from the Democratic palate. 'Cause I find nothing pleasing, sweet, or nourishing, or valid. But here comes Jordan Chariton and all his stunted clones to take that tired Democratic tune and put it to the music of a patriotic ballad. Something that inspires you to cough up $20 and vote for 4 more years of civil servants telling you you're greedy because you didn't cream your jeans to see their flaccid snail-paced climate action. Well, I'm sorry I was not impressed enough to go line up to get my turn to chug directly from the liberal vat of brunch relaxin'. I'm sorry I still have a scrap of morals, so I couldn't sleep at night to know I led the working class into the slaughterhouse through promise of a greener pasture. Actually, I take it back. I'm never sorry. I would rather eat my fucking tongue than write a word that served those greedy bastards. So I guess that the fundamental difference in what all too often passes as a journalist is just how swiftly some will seek to satisfy their masters. And by some, I mean the only ones they tell you truly matter. I mean the only ones they don't outright erase or bury under peals of laughter. I mean the only ones who speak a truth that we may not embrace until we're in too deep to hope escaping our disaster. I mean the ones who seek to break the spell and try to name the casters. Who shouldn't need remind you they have numbers and addresses and are each of them disgustingly deserving of the kind of mortal fear the roar of riot brings and blesses. With conviction like a pastor, we didn't start the fire, but we came to fan the downfall faster. Give me 2 and 20. I'll be sharp and quick and funny, then I'll scream myself bloody when you play that fucker backwards. All the world's a stage, and the theater's belching flames, but really, what's more entertaining than a playhouse full of lively actors? Smoke gets in your eyes like a diversion tactic. Tacitly you lapse a little, lax your guard, and last thing you'll remember is your faction being fractured and dismembered into fractions, flecks, and fragments. The last thing you'll remember is an ugly dream of fascists filling every fucking cabinet. The last thing you'll remember is the travesty that Amnesty's Assange support was just a side of abstinence. The last thing you'll remember as a member of an audience that never pays attention is the overwhelming feeling that regardless, you're all captive in the captured sense. So none of you can notice if the words that you hear spoken don't match up to what the caption says. In the end, the greatest coup was folks like Jordan using you till you think revolution's waiting just beneath the surface of the tar pit that our democratic status is. In the end, the sound of all these propagandists buzzing, from their hottest steaming takes to imperialist sweet nothings, will all metastasize into a static cyst. And once you see the obfuscation calcified before you, you might look at it a moment and think, how could we let that exist? How could we have struggled just to breathe beneath the weight of all this cancer bearing down on us, and all we did was scream resist? Nonetheless, the warmonger queen persists. And she's reducing men and global power down to just a simple list. Who can keep a pedophile's secret versus who might need a little help to slow their lips? Who might need a visit in their cell so there's no risk that when they take the stand, they magically remember every trip they took to Little St. James or every place they ever shook Podesta's hand? Who among us knows how many times our flag has flown above the stage where a molester stands? Only Clinton's shadow knows. Only Clinton's fixer, probably bitter still from Navarone. Only Clinton's cult who worship BlackRock because they have a home. Give me 2 and 20, I'll produce them each a catacomb. And I'm aware in doing so I roll the dice so each might be the final time I walk inside and tell my son that daddy's home. Give me 2 and 20. I can eulogize myself and still have plenty left to shred on Ken and Jordan, Cenk and Jeff, and Bernie, Nina, Nancy, AOC, and Chuck and Joe, and fucking TYT, and every Twitter toddler who assumes that makes me GOP. You won't see me sing on bigger streams. I'll snap your platform right in two. Just give me 2 and 20. Here's the worst that I could do.
I love it. I love it. Holy shit.
Well, you know what? It's funny that she's here, but I was going to say, when I was writing this, I thought about when Misty says, like, I like when you're snarky, because there are a few pieces where I would kind of do that smart assery, and I feel like 2 and 20 is one of the most smart ass fucking things. Especially the fact that I got Ken, I got Jeff Miami in there.
Oh, you got Cenk and TYT. Yep. Oh yeah. You nailed everybody. Misty, what's up, Misty? How are you? Love you.
I know, Charlie, exactly. He said, so pissed I know all these people with just a first name.
Right? Oh my god, that's great. Let me put that up there. That's hilarious. Yep. Sadly, we all do. Yeah, Snarky Jesse is my favorite. Yeah, his smart assery.
That was a rock bottom moment for me too, Charlie. Don't worry. I was like, oh Jesus.
Oh, wow.
I went outside and just laid in the grass for
they're like, you know, I'm not sure if you knew, but it's I don't know if you went with like, it's a song name, it's an album cover, but to start a line, first I saw Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. First I saw We Didn't Start the Fire, and I was like, okay, I'm a Billy Joel fan, that's fucking great. Right, then I saw All the World's a Stage, that's one of my favorite Rush albums. Oh, yeah. I'm like, oh my god, look at that shit. Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, that's another song. I'm like, oh my god, look at this. Like, did he mean to? You didn't know that?
Not mean to do that. That's trippy, and it's 3 in a row.
Right?
God,
how
damn,
cool
what's
is
the one
that?
before that? Hang on, go up. Before,
it was We Didn't Start the Fire.
Wow.
All the World's a Stage and Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. And I was like, holy shit, that's so fucking badass. Look at that.
I would never would have noticed that.
Right? So that's really cool.
That's
all cool. Right. And oh, here we go. Now here's another song that I know, or another piece that I know quite well. Mm-hmm. This Danina.
Now, I have enjoyed posting this with no sense of irony on Nina Turner stuff, just like with a hello somebody and then throwing this up and with that kind of light the match and walk away and it explodes as you walk away kind of vibe. I'm just like, let's leave this here and see what happens.
Yeah, you definitely are lighting dog poop.
I get shadow banned. That's what happens. Anytime I mess with Nina and say anything to Nina, I have like 0 fucking engagement for 24 hours. I've learned that's just an immediate for me. So
okay, well,
what are you gonna do?
Oh, I actually do that with Susan usually when there's a funny Susan Sarandon thing, I'll either tag her or I'll put it underneath her post and I'll put that how dare you, Susan.
Yep. That's funny.
So funny. Okay, so see, Cynic thought it was intentional also with the song names and titles.
Yeah,
that's great. Okay, so hello somebody, and let's let everybody
hear. I
hear.
learned something new today about that piece. That's really
see that I love it. He learned something about his own stuff, and sometimes you're just in your head. Maybe you heard something somewhere and
in my head. It's really fun to like I said, to kind of listen to something objectively after the fact. Once it's like it's uploaded, it's on Spotify. I can't change it, even if I say ago instead of from now. I can change it. So yeah,
you can't change the words either, right? Like you can't even change the.
Well, I mean, I can change the text that's up on here, but like Spotify, that takes a long time to redo, and I'd have to redo the whole track. And to me, at this point, the fact that I did it all in one sitting, front to back, when I had COVID, I wouldn't want to redo one of those just to fix that. I'd rather leave it with the like cool little time capsule that it is, because I certainly sound congested compared to every other recording.
Well, again, to me, it's almost like recording a live concert album. You know, like you can't edit and stick a non-live, unorganic version of a piece inside a live album. It doesn't fit. Yep. All right, so
and I was sitting right here. I recorded it right here. I just kind of lit the candles. I did my whole Camp David thing and just acted like I was doing a stream for no one. You know, dancing with myself, as it were.
Oh, yeah. As Billy Idol famously said.
Let's let it rip. It's Nina time.
Let's go get Nina.
Hello, somebody.
Hello, somebody desperate. Hello, somebody gullible. Hello, anyone left who can swallow the bait, who ain't already rocking a stomachful. Maybe they knew and they ate it the same because there's no other way to assure that their stomach's full. Maybe they just know that they love the taste, so they'll put it away by the shovelful. So hello to somebody trying to feed us the light blue shit like it tastes any different or makes any Democrat any less culpable. Hello to someone who couldn't be troubled to mention a march for the healthcare struggle and spent the day cozy with donors who matter, who keep your progressives all wealthy and comfortable. I recommend your protests be anything but peaceable and all your disobedience be decidedly uncivil. You don't need a permit to declare that you have principles, and love, it's only natural that seeing all these fascist assholes stacking up the Capitol would manifest in something loud and passionate and visceral. Keep that in your heart, because it's the only way we'll ever start to flesh out something livable. Maybe that was literal. Maybe our utopia is built from all the sinews of the moderates and liberals, salvaged when they broke their backs with NPR gymnastics, simultaneously hiding from the truth while sticking out their necks for pedophiles, Nazis, and the upper fucking echelon of World War criminals. But baby doll, it's not your fault, it's really all subliminal. They've sown the propaganda into every thread of visuals, grown the propaganda off of truly noisome victuals. Rows of propaganda propagated out of ritual. Straight into your ocular and straight out your occipital. Straight up to the point you flip on everything that's pivotal. Any crucial aspect of survival for the working class becomes that holy unicorn you ridicule and snicker at and praise each piece of legislature dancing around the borders of the looking glass. But it's not truly possible to try and stop the suffering of people that you spend each waking moment simply looking past. Walking past a sobbing homeless family like, look at that. Bet they'd be in better shape if they'd have voted Democrat. Hello, somebody ignorant enough to still believe that there's some fundamental difference in the moral stance between the couple barrels that they're staring at. Like one's just got a slug, the other's loaded up with sarin gas. Both of them are pointed at your temple, and they're both equipped to make this breath your final gasp. So hello, somebody dense enough to split the hairs of which one is the kinder executioner with what will be their final task.
I love that.
Oh, man. I hate that 17 seconds too long from being able to put on Twitter directly. It's almost enough for me to pay. I don't know how much it is to make the fucking
Twitter blue.
professional Twitter Blue or whatever to be able to post whatever video length I want. But God damn, I'd love to be able to post full video length. I wish more than anything that I could do that.
I love it. Walking past the sobbing homosexual, like, look at that. Bet they'd be in better shape if they'd voted Democrat. Dude, that is shit livery 101 right there. That is the ultimate shit lib. Mm-hmm. Missy says, "Get her, Jesse." That's great. Love it. Yeah, Nina. Oh man, remember, married to a cop, would not be opposed to funding any cops. So we there was a lot of love for Sister Nina, but thankfully she revealed who she was before it was too late there, and we avoided a big one there.
Yeah, right.
We were going to look really silly championing for her and then having her disappoint us. Mm-hmm. Hit the music. It felt like a Corey moment, but I'm going to be all right. We're going to be all right. I'm going to be all right. Like, yeah, you are. I guess that's what you told us. So we feel that. Next is one that I have not heard before, and I'm kind of excited to do that.
So this one, I couldn't. Well, not that I couldn't, but I chose not to call this Death to America. But it's not for lack of saying it in this piece. But when I say it, it's in a context of like, kind of if you were examining it like post-mortem. There were a couple lines in here that I was really proud of, and like that I hope translate and that like people get, because you never know. But yeah, this was another one that just kind of happened, and next it ended up being one of the, I know, it's a bit of a sleeper. I honestly, when I was getting everything together for this, I was like, I think I only have 8 pieces, right? And then I remembered writing this, like, oh shit, yeah, no, this absolutely has to go on. So yeah, all right, Obit. Let her rip.
If it's death to America, I'll gladly pen the obit for the global gods of terror who controlled the world like COVID, prone to quickly flip their holy shit with zero notice. All you'll hear is the explosion, and when you flee to safety, you'll be blocked by close to 50 cops whose radios don't seem to function. Trigger fingers glued to their assumptions. Trigger fingers sworn that they'll uphold a code of bigotry that Biden signed in blood before the annual police union luncheon. Trigger fingers all too proud to punch in. Trigger fingers all too quick to end a life with no investigation or discussion. Safe to say de-escalation isn't any interest, since it isn't something they can stick their new expensive guns in. It isn't something they can tase, intimidate, or rape, so they don't really see it fitting in their current surging budget. And we all know anyone elected wouldn't dare to dream to touch it. Hell, they'd jump at any chance they find to fund it. They all get a little giddy when they pump the numbers up and push us closer to our future as an open-air dungeon, dragging chains of raw corruption. So if it's death to America, I'll wager that the cause of death was part consumerism, part consumption. And I'll bet it was administered by wealthy suited worms who excrete that viscous slime of the immoral and the unctuous and slap a coat on every crack in this collapsing structure like they're doing us a favor and not lathering their cancer on the future that they stuck you with. And they're banking on the promise that a lot of us will be so close to starving that we wouldn't look twice before we stomach it. Hunger's not a motivator. Hunger is the hunter that you rummage through the rubble with. Hunger is the capsule that they fill with all their finely powdered policies and stuff you with. And now here comes the Democratic voter base to shame you for not telling them you're grateful and that they're the lesser evil you'd prefer to starve and suffer with. So that you could be another Warren voter pumping brakes on living wages because you're coasting on the victory of the suffragettes. Wait a half a century, and then we'll have a dialogue that starts the conversation of a closed-door debate on the merits of a means-tested temporary wage increase of 7 cents. Out beyond the shifting sands and over the electric fence, where bloody revolution is the truest form of self-defense, where every last dissenting word was taken in as evidence, our hope for the future roars to life to cries of revenant. So when it's death to America, I'll reach for the accelerant. I will pen the obit and be anything but penitent. I will pound the pulpit and be everything but reverent. Cut my fucking brains out so hard it makes me celibate, then stream it straight into your home or closed-circuit televis. And I know it's not appropriate or warranted or relevant, but I'm just being honest and acknowledging the elephant before I pop the hinges on my jaw and relish every minute swallowing it whole to the delight of its constituents. I'll tell them that they're free to live their lives without its influence. Tell them that the donkey's next to go, so they should know there's going to be another incident. They should know that we will prove to be our own deliverance. They should know the kinship of the living is invincible and limitless. They should know that anger is a way for hope to bloom and not a way that hope diminishes. So if it's death to America, I'll gladly pen the obit, but I'll probably never finish it. Because I'll add a line for every day we venture further out from where the capitalists settled down and shat out all their legacy and lineage. I'll add a line for every time United Health was fined to tell another human being that their bottom line was heavily prioritized above the dollar value they've decided their desire to keep living is. Now raise your hand if you refuse to eat the truth that is all that living is. Raise your hand if you're prepared to tell your representative the future of the working class is vastly more important than their insulated living is. Raise your hand if you believe your legislators don't possess the faintest fucking inkling what the honest cost of living is. Raise your hand if you feel like you can't afford to truly know what living is.
Okay, there were at least 3 lines I went, damn! Yeah, this is one of them right here. Mm-hmm. Okay, where they shout out all their legacy and lineage. Damn. Mm-hmm. Like that's one of those, like, yeah, I'm glad I had my mic muted because I was like, oh.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell them that the donkey's next to go, so they should know there's going to be another incident.
There's going to be another incident. Yeah. Oh, that's oof. So many great lines. Yeah, that's right, Cynic. It definitely is.
One of my favorites, which I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it was tuberculosis. The line, if it's death to America, I'll wager that the cause of death was part consumerism, part consumption. I'm pretty sure consumption. I thought it was TB that they used to refer to. Consumption was what they called something.
Yes, yeah. The bends. That's right.
Yeah, so
nitrogen poisoning or whatever.
I love that double meaning. I was really, really proud of that line. So that was one of my favorites in that one.
Night Misty, she's going to sleep. There was something else in the chat. What did Cynic say here? She said something. Yeah, heads up, there's going to be another incident. Oh, Uncle Warren. Oh, yes, there is a mini little Uncle Warren on screen. If anybody didn't notice,
I love it.
It is a little wash your ass for Uncle Warren. Mm-hmm. We miss you, Uncle Warren. If you are watching, he's taking a little break. And if anybody can go to linktr.ee/extra booyah, EXTRABULLA, hook him up with a couple bucks on his Cash App or wherever you can. Definitely, I know he'd appreciate it, and everybody's struggling. I know it's tough out there, but if you can, certainly help him out with a couple bucks. We're going to be doing a Warren stock or a Warren stand or a Warren piece or a Warren
aid
tribute.
Something.
Warren something, looking like a week and a half or so from now, Saturday night or something. And we'll have everybody that plays music do some pieces, and we'll have a good time, family stream. But next piece, I think I actually did. Did you do the Obit on the Joe Biden episode? Maybe, possibly, because there was a lot of Biden stuff in there. Maybe.
I don't think so. No.
Maybe not. Okay, so Kent State, I definitely have not heard, and that's the next.
This, you know what? This is easily the oldest piece that is on either disc of the Grift. I wrote this right after Inauguration Gift. It was sometime 2021, but I didn't have any spoken word stuff on the next records, and it was just after the cutoff for Coming of Spring. So so this just kind of sat around, and then when I looked at it, it's one of those that I forgot how impactful it was, and I wished it wasn't still relevant, but it was still relevant. So it made it. So yeah. And I don't know if I've got any metal fans in the audience, but obviously this was a play off of Kill Switch Engage, which is a really great band that was fronted by a guy that sounded like Howard Jones, which made it even better.
I don't know that one, but I'm not that much.
Oh man, okay.
I'm a more of a classic rocker guy, but Jenna Colby, welcome. Hey Jenna,
What up?
She made it. All right, cool. Kent State engage. Here we go.
All right, let's go.
It feels like every other day is Kent State, and we're the people watching from the safety of the gate, muttering repeatedly, we're gonna be okay. But little did we know our fate was forged and on its way. Little did we know our last names were on a collar with a binary chain. Little did we know they're only working through the A's. So at most we've got a couple days of listening to all those precious freedoms fade away. Of watching all your neighbors learn in real time how they never really had them anyway. Watching as we occupy ourselves. And you can try to occupy yourself, but eventually you're gonna have to reckon the embarrassment of seeing that the terrorists were speaking perfect English and they look just like yourselves. And you could smell a power trip distinctly American. You could hear the hate in their voices so well. You recognize the boots when they pressed into your face and the sweet familiar taste of the composite shell. And suddenly the film decides to pause itself. Suddenly the animals that wither in your cage would sooner claw themselves. Suddenly we start to see a fascist is a fascist and it doesn't fucking matter what they call themselves. Suddenly we start to see their colors are irrelevant. Suddenly the film is turning black and white and all the red and blue feels just as far away and long ago as civil rights. And suddenly it's Groundhog Day on the Kent State firing line. And you're a student holding up a picket sign. You're the dying breed before a generation born with all its senses in the sand unless it's dinner time. A generation undereducated in the hopes that their capacity for questioning their station might be minimized. A generation dancing to the same song witnessed by a million eyes. A generation struggling to save itself when all our means to aid ourselves were weaponized. Poverty was branded on our skin and we were tased or made to step aside. Kettled into gutters and the ruling classes laughing as they pass us by. A ruling class of warped, perverted sadists so empowered by our capitalist system their humanity's impossible to recognize. So fattened off our taxes and our blood and our misfortune that they'll never die. They'll be comfy somewhere else that Bezos terraformed and colonized when Earth is sunken under waves of human refuse and we all get left behind, terrified. Our first mistake was standing by and watching human suffering incentivized. The last of our mistakes was probably painted on a sign at Kent State that never made it past the censor's eyes. Shouted down to ashes under angry crowds of Semper Fi. When it's on your block, your only option might be frozen to the spot and truly petrified. Like you heard the first shot at Kent State and it went through your sign and right into somebody's side. And now we'll all go down in history as police-assisted suicides. So tell the founding fathers that we sing the songs of patricide, chanted out in triplicate, unanimously ratified. And we'll all go down in history as police-assisted suicides.
Okay, yeah, that's cheerful. What a visual. Yes, police-assisted suicides. You know, it's really... We've been seeing a lot more of these incidents in general, and you know, people calling 911 to get help for a relative who's having an episode, and that's what they end up calling it. I actually saw that somebody ended up going to jail when one cop killed another, and the guy who was standing there ended up going to jail, not the cops.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, like, damn.
A really good friend of mine, like one of my childhood best friends, that's how his dad went. His dad was having a mental health episode. Police came and police shot him, and that was it. And you know, like, obviously I wasn't alive during Kent State, but when you read about it, you see what a massive event that was for the time. And how something I feel like that could happen now, and a month later we would be on to something else, you know. It really does feel like that caliber of tragedy can happen, and we're just inundated with it so much. It's like it's hard to process them sufficiently when you're just bombarded like that. There's not enough time or emotional energy to do that in the world. So yeah, that's definitely even though it was relatively short and kind of an afterthought, like I said, because it was an older piece that had just not ended up on anything. It's one of the heavier moments on the spoken word record for sure. And that's saying a lot. Yeah. Which brings us to, I cannot remember the track listing on this one to save my life.
It's a Communism Taylor's version.
Oh, okay. So this piece, for those who aren't aware, Taylor Swift, in a bid to, she didn't have her masters anymore. Label got her masters, and she decided to re-record all of her own songs, and it'll be whatever the name of the song is, and then Taylor's version. And I came to this moment in the rhyme scheme for this where I just said, not the censored tailored version. And I was like, oh, as soon as it popped in my head, it was one of those, like, if I don't, I'll always think about the line that could have been, and I'm not going to let that one get away. So,
that just writes itself.
Yeah. So exactly. So there it was. But,
that's all right. I said something tonight, and Reese just like, I'll take that. Thank you. I was like, row your something, and it was like row your lives or something like that. And he's like, I'll grab that. Thank you. I was like, damn it. I just kind of threw it out there. Like, all right. I didn't get a chance to use it. He's stealing. All right. It'll be an INN News tomorrow night. Row your lives.
Yep.
All right. So, okay.
So yeah, this one had a little bit of kind of self-reflection, self-deprecation, just again one of those that just kind of goes all over the place. But I really like where we ended up with this one. So,
all right, Communism Taylor's version.
Blue check, better hold your breath. I'll slap you out your Ray-Bans. Toe to toe, we'll do-si-do and dip until you face plant. If you want statistics, I can spit 'em up like Rain Man. Now your argument has 0 arms and legs like Rayman. Now we're touring 2019 like it was Graceland. I dropped 50 pounds, I started dressing like a stagehand. Quarantine was born and I restored my former waistband. Now I make the trailers for our future in the wasteland. Back on my bullshit, back at my heaviest, here to grab the artifact and jam it in the edifice, force it in the orifice, absorb the sordid medicine. All the good cops are either dead or quickly jettisoned. No, I'm not a nihilist, and no, I'm not a pessimist. I'm just your average realist with a fetish for the precipice. Bend you over this abyss, I want to make you sweat a bit. I'll drop you once it registers, and know that you'll remember it. Daughters of the Revolution soon may lose their membership. Maybe through a dissolution, maybe through dismemberment. I won't be the one to choose or execute the severance, but I stand in solidarity with every tool that severs it. Every crimson pool we made of every fascist fool who watched us sacrifice our schools to fund the final crowning jewel affixed in Lockheed Martin's diadem. What's another 20 dead? Our leaders never cried for them. They're laughing in the garden, drunk and pissing on the hyacinths. The royal jubilee to praise this fascist Biden monarchy is imminent, and it would not be possible without the constant slaughtering of innocents, overseas and here at home and anywhere we find a shred of innocence. We won't stand for peace, not in the global or the inner sense. We won't let a single nation live outside our prison fence. We'll provide the bullets that defaced an honest journalist and turn around to praise ourselves for fearlessly upholding the free press and their important service. But I'll make a bet that Anthony starts blinking awfully nervous when you ask him why Assange is being jailed without a purpose. For what may be the greatest, most courageous act of journalism carried out in earnest. All to be rewarded with a slow-mo execution stretching out across a decade till they commute his sentence half an hour after he goes in the furnace. Sometimes I think the world is only turning out of spite. It's like we died a long time ago, and we're so used to being burned that when we saw the light, we all assumed that it was here to burn us. And so we fled into the shelter of a flooded circus, led to higher ground by all the clowns who own the only raft that floats above the sewage. And yes, there's plenty room, but they insist we don't deserve it. They insist the system works. They know it isn't perfect. But say we can't let great become the enemy of good, or all these rolling waves of shit we call democracy and bled out every dime for won't be worth it. But I submit this joke of an American experiment has not been worth a fraction of a damn since we birthed it. I submit that all our contributions to the planet, when subtracting our destruction and the millions we've left dead and labeled damages, would leave us with a failing grade of worthless. My apologies to any blue checks who might be listening. I'm sure that made you clutch your pearls and $1,000 purses. Did I interrupt your fantasy of healthcare exclusivity replete with fleets of Tesla hearses? Or your daily round of golf claps to pacify our broken nurses? I know my spoken word is like the scalpel of a surgeon who is working on behalf of the insurgents, but I'm just here to open up your eyes so you can see the true reality and not your censored, tailored version. So you can get your copy of my brand new manifesto. I took all my calls for violence, made it danceable, and presto, called it Communism, Taylor's version. I called it Tales of the Great American High-Speed Rail Aversion. Called it How to Put a Bigot into Power, then collectively and feebly coerce him into acting like a decent person. This will be the most important vote you'll ever cast, because we have to wrestle power from the current ruling class and hand it over to the other team of smiling suited serpents. This will be the most important vote you'll ever cast. Now watch them toss it in the vat and see it melt into the surface.
Damn. E. Heller loves the Tesla hearses line. Yeah, dude. That, like the last minute of that is just the Great American High-Speed Rail Aversion. Which again, every 4 years they bring out that stupid map that's got the 9 things, and like, how come we can't have this?
Exactly.
I've never imagined anything beyond that because we can't even get to that.
Yeah.
Again, how to put a bigot into power, then collectively and feebly coerce him into acting like a decent person. I can't imagine who that might be. I mean, you could actually call that every president that we've had in my lifetime. I'm sure people think that it's Joe, but you could easily say that's Trump or even Obama or definitely Bush or definitely Bill Clinton or definitely Reagan. All freaking bigots and douchebags. So, yeah. Again, this will be the most important vote you ever cast. The gaslight right there the whole time. It's just, mwah. This one's good. I like Taylor's version for sure. Taylor's version. And, of course, that's what communism is, right? Because that's what the media fearmongers about what communism is, which love that. So good. Okay, so the next song, next piece is called Met Gala Airstrike. Tax the Rich. Woohoo! So
this is another older one too. This was right after the Met Gala, the whole dress thing. Watching all the people working the event wearing masks and everyone strutting by without their masks in front of them in their fucking ridiculous outfits. Just like, it's like, can I, like, through the safety of a hypothetical thing, like, call in an airstrike on this event? The answer is yes, you can.
Nice.
Let it rip.
Let's do it.
Influencer TikTok, capitalist pig dog, immigration flip-flop lobbied via rim job, Met Gala Airstrike, A-lister scrimshaw, paparazzi lip sip the scandal as it drips off. You know I'd love to meet our leaders that were tipped off. Back when COVID was a few of us with wicked coughs, and be like, sorry, Mr. Senator, that you don't speak in terms of human worth, just in kickbacks and dipped stocks. Then punch that motherfucker like a shift clock. Hurry back home to my stack of straw dolls with their limbs off, where Biden's on the screen and he's confusing Xi and Kim Jong. Talking out his SIM card like someone plugged him in wrong, but then we hit the gist and suddenly his pitch drops. He whispers right at camera one with his fist balled. His words hang with the subtlety of a lynch mob as he says rat your neighbor out and get a $5 voucher for the CIA gift shop. Hell, you'll even get a free stick of boot-flavored lip balm. 'Cause every day we make enough consent to fill a strip mall. So when I say eat the rich, I'm talking still raw, bone in, limb by greedy limb with a skill saw. Picture, if you will, a modern take on Naked Prey starring Bill Maher. Picture misery deeper than a reach in Biden's pill jar. You pull a fistful out and down it, honey, here we are. The future's full of shit and clear enough to know we're better veering off and fleeing far, somewhere Jeff will never think to look beyond the fading stars. Beyond the homeless camps they came and swept for the parade of stars, who showed their faces proudly while we covered ours. Met Gala butcher block, we feed the hungry and we tax the filthy rich until they fucking starve. Poke the hornet's nest enough, eventually it comes apart. Eventually I'll run my course and numb my art. I'll snuff the little embers out and clean my car. Wait it out enough and then my sample bank will seem bizarre. Just foreign clips of fuzzy inspirations that I've washed away or smoked beneath a half a dozen years of char. Till I've long forgotten the familiar buzz of pressure in my ears when it's just me alone with thoughts of drones, Boston dogs, Black Rock homes, and women wearing maiden's garb. The times when privately I wondered if we'd ever shake these chains of ours. When every vote for lesser evil yields another toxic barb. A pox on your democracy, a swelling in your child's heart. Before the time to educate ourselves is gone and suddenly our trial starts. Those among you capable of standing, please rise. Wipe the crocodile tears from your landlord's eyes before the trial starts. All rise and the trial starts.
And that is Met Gala Airstrike. And it sounds like
that Bill Maher line. I'm really sorry about conjuring up Bill Maher in Naked Prey, but I couldn't. Again, once it was in my brain, I couldn't. I had to just. Someone else has to suffer too.
That's yeah. I'm stunned into silence on that one.
And boot flavored lip balm. I would like to, if I ever do merch, like if I ever like make shirts that like I just need to find like a mutual aid charity or something that I could like have proceeds go to, make some shirts. I would love to have lip balm that says like boot flavored and has like
boot
a shoe on it
lip balm. Oh my god, that goes in the JJ Bibbs catalog.
But it could be like strawberry boot nana, but. It could be boot. It would just say boot flavored.
And boot flavored barbecue sauce too. We can go for that. JJ Bibbs boot flavored, boot licking barbecue sauce.
It's boot licking good.
I love it.
Oh, there we go. Whew.
Nice. All right. So we are up to, would you believe, already the last piece, which is $50.
Oh man. Okay, now before we started, did you say you haven't heard this before?
I don't know if I have. I don't think I have.
That's awesome. So this is one of those few times that like something I did or like an actual moment kind of made it into a piece. But I was cleaning and I found two Kennedy $50 in a dresser drawer. And all of a sudden I was thinking about like now knowing, what I know about Kennedy, how funny isn't the right word, but how fucking funny it is that we tend to take somebody out and then lift them up. And Kennedy was a great example that, here was someone that really wanted us to have universal health care. And we all know what happened to Kennedy. And it's the same thing that we do to Martin Luther King. It's the same thing we will do to Julian Assange. It just once that ball got rolling, it was this kind of eureka moment for me that I really thought about this classic American move of like take out someone and then once they can't speak for themselves, twist their words and their legacy to suit us and favor us. And I actually kept those in my my wallet. I have both of the Kennedy $50 pieces because I didn't feel right leaving them there after I wrote this piece, so I put them here. But yeah, so this is the closing piece, and there's definitely one line that even though it's one of my favorites, it was one I was like, this is a little much, but it makes the point. And if I'm not here to make a brutal, uncomfortable point, then what am I here for? And it was one of the first ones where I got to like directly mention M4A, and it was in a pretty graphic context, but I still, when you hear Kennedy talk about what a sham it was that we didn't have universal health care here. It's not a reach to think of why he was eliminated. So yeah, this was about that kind of moment for me, and thinking about what we do to people. And yeah, this is felt like a good piece to close it out on. So this is $50.
It's Bay of Pigs, and it's shattering the CIA into a million pieces. That also had something to do with it.
That line.
Universal health care.
I need a cigarette after that line. Jesus Christ.
I didn't I don't know if that was already in the piece or not, but we can always add it after.
No.
But yeah, all right, let's do it.
Yeah. I found $50 in a dresser drawer. Spent the time I would have spent just staring at the floor, staring down at JFK. Trying to imagine the immoral sort of irony that makes a nation feign commemoration of a man that it had murdered by the CIA. Trying to envision us if we possessed the health care he had talked about in '58. I guess the takeaway is it's a piece of fucking cake to celebrate somebody's bravery once you've assured they're safely in the grave. I bet if Pat Tillman were alive today that he would say the same. And I'm sure we're in for more if they let Julian decay. I bet that they would put him on a quarter. I bet that they would name conference rooms in his honor at the IMF, the New York Times, the FBI, and Citibank. I guess the takeaway is it's a no-risk softball pitch to uplift somebody's image once their image is the one thing that remains. And the worst is when it's coming from a figurehead who's funding every agency that authored the remains, and working with the agency that doctored the remains, the agency that obfuscates the facts and spins a constant storm of shifting blame. I guess the takeaway is that America will sing your praises loud as day to celebrate the fact you and the threat you posed have passed away. Shit, they'll throw you a parade, and business just as usual will live another day, and all of the insurance gods will bathe in all the praise and make donations rain. And all their winged, wicked little lobbyists will blow their horns and light the flames. The ceremony starts, and they in single column march up to the weathered onyx arch and sand the marker down that bears your name. So you no longer are and never were until your hideous rebirth within the corporate frame. Until you're back from the dead and then bound for all eternity in propaganda's chains. It's the very ritual that whittled down the legacy of Martin Luther King into a parable on unity for liberals to claim. And once they learned it worked, the world would never be the same. And now it's getting worse. I guess they're dialing in their aim. History is a straight line, but so's a moving train, which is heavily dependent on our infrastructure grade. We are building back better in a nation built on slaves, so you can guess the ultimate direction that our pathway to the future paves. They don't want you living, or they'd offer you a living wage. They don't want you feeding any homeless. It's just best to leave them freezing in the alleyway. They don't want you speaking words of hope unto the hopeless, or they'll do you up like JFK. I found $50 in my dresser, and I spent the rest of my whole day depressed because this constant drop in pressure means that you can catch the bends from simply sitting up in bed awake. It looks like 2022 is really not the year for you to have your lives improved. I guess you'll have to wait. But not to fret, election season's just around the bend. Why don't you go ahead and save the date? So you can throw yourself before the magistrate and beg to have your family saved. You don't know the people you elect to lead you more than what their ad portrays. You can't tell their offerings of saccharin and arsenic from ordinary aspartame. And you can't really comprehend the kind of greed this country feeds upon until you're Jackie O, wearing close to half a brain. And probably the half that would have seen us passing M4A. All to keep the pieces in their places in the never-ending profit game. All to weave a tapestry of ampersands, each allow a claim adjuster room to just dismiss you with a callous hand like fuck you and your meds. Fuck you for requesting a procedure that you need so you can stand. Fuck you and your family and your poor demands. So welcome to the land where we'll assassinate a man and then put him on a $50 stadium or stamp and proclaim ourselves the greatest country ever master planned, killing off its citizens, enriching all its brands.
Whew, wow. Yeah, you saved the most powerful for last, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah, the Jackie O wearing close to half a braid, just ooh. And this one is so true. You don't know the people you elect to lead you more than what their ad portrays. Dude, that you stamp that and put it somewhere in the main square. Like, seriously.
Yeah, right.
Put it on a billboard, because people don't they don't see that way often enough. And it's not just about politicians. A lot of times it's you only see what people want you to see, and that's a good lesson for a lot of stuff. So yeah, dude, wow. And I can't believe it's already been an hour and 17 minutes, and we're already through it. And this was awesome, as every week is. Damn. I want to hear music though. I gotta say, so I can't wait to get back to hearing some tunes next week. I like the spoken word pieces, but I like hearing some music. I don't know what you got a plan for next week and for next episode, 2 weeks from now.
Next episode, I don't actually. No.
Nice mystery episode. We're gonna have to figure it out.
Yep.
Is there going to be live coverage? Oh, Chicago. Yeah, let's talk about Chicago for a minute. What you're doing on August 6th?
Yeah, so it's going to be in Deerfield, Illinois, which is close enough. We're going to be. It's the Center for Political Innovation, which is a political think tank, mainly like socialist education, that Caleb Maupin put together. And they've done a few conferences. I think the last one was in Austin, Texas, I want to say. But Tara's going to be speaking at it, as well as Garland Nixon, Peter Coffin, several other people. But yeah, it's close enough for me that I can buzz over there that morning, and I'll get to perform a few pieces. Half Dollar will be one of them, and yeah, I'm really stoked to not only get to play, obviously, but to get to meet Tara and get to hear her speak is going to be fantastic. And really, for what I do, I said it on Sabby's show earlier that I would rather be playing for this room, for these people, than label people or radio guys or music critics or something, because label people trying to make money off of music are not going to want to touch me with a 10-foot pole, nor would I want to be touched by them. So this is my ideal, my core demographic. I've never gotten to play for a room that is as politically savvy live. That's a huge win for me. So I'm just beyond stoked about that.
Yeah, it'll be a tuned-in audience. I know Dan Kovalik, I believe, is supposed to be there also. I think I saw that the guy from the Schiller Institute, and I know that Tara interviewed him. He was on her show a couple months ago. He's planning on being there as well. I can't think of his name now. I think he's running for Senate in Seattle or in Washington State.
Okay.
Daniel Burke, that's his name. I couldn't think of it.
Okay.
Daniel Burke for Senate. He'll be there, and yeah, that seems like it's going to be a really good event. I don't know how that's going to be streamed or recorded. I know that the last one in Austin, somebody did have a camera turned on and was streaming it. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and I want video of you guys all hanging out afterwards. I want somebody turning on a camera and streaming that, but. You guys everybody get together and have a good time. I love that everybody's actually meeting in person.
I know.
And it's not just the online thing that we do all the time, though this is mostly our family. We spend most of our time online talking with these folks. So it's just going to be nice to hug them and be around them and get to chat it up and talk about all the crazy stuff that we do all day long. So before we go, I just wanted to put this graphic up on screen. I did make this little graphic for Warren. So this is actually going to be for the War Deer Edition American Tradition, which we were going to do a special edition last week that didn't end up happening at the last minute. But if you can help our friend Warren, there's a couple ways that you can go help him out, both on on Cash App, on Rockfin, as well as on Linktree. So if if you got a couple bucks, even if you just send him a note, just say, hey, thinking about you, can't wait till you come back. I think his Twitter's still active. You can drop a tweet, but all right. Oh, and by the way, I had to drop a Warren kitty for everybody. So Warren's presence was felt here tonight, and he's definitely missed around the network, and we can't wait till he gets back sometime soon. And we're all here to help you, and we love him, and anything he needs, we're always here. We're all family at INN. So again, thank you so much to everybody for tonight. I just this is like my favorite time every 2 weeks. I do a lot of shows. I do a lot of producing. I do a lot of content creation. This is just where I get to relax and hang out and talk with my friends and hang out with everybody and chat. And this is great. And I thank you for being here. I thank everybody else for being here. And this was episode 7 of American Tradition, the Grift Home Companion spoken word walkthrough. So everybody, thanks so much for being here. My thing is question everyone's motivations. Jesse, I don't know if you have a sign-off thing. Other than we'll just say...
Don't do drugs unless you're just bored.